What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast. This is the Big Ten College Football Betting Preview Part 2. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson. If you missed Part 1, we covered the first 8 teams, the top 8 teams in the odds to win the Big Ten. Today, we're going to cover the remaining 10, and we're going to sum up our favorite futures, win totals, and our picks to win the Big Ten championship. So, Colin, no reason to waste any time. Let's get right into it. Let's move on to Illinois. Win total over 6.5, minus 150. Our boy Brett Bielema has had a lot of success here. I mean, 19 wins the last 2 years. That's a program record. He's 17-7-2 against the spread. He's been a cash cow over the past 2 years, but there's a reason why this win total is down at 6.5, albeit juiced to the over. This looks like a bit of a rebuilding year for Illinois, right? You lose Luke Altmaier, your quarterback, your 3-year starter, who exceeded my expectations. He really cleaned things up. He was very clutch. I mean, that is another thing that you have to, if the regression monster's coming for Illinois, they have been extremely good in one possession games the last 3 years, 13-3. Now you might say, well, that's just Bielema. Well, Colin knows more than anyone. He lost, I think, 12 straight one possession games when he was at Arkansas. He was 2-7 in one possession games his first 3 years in Illinois.
One of those was against Toledo.
One of those was against Toledo. So, yeah, if this roster takes a step back, because, look, not only do you lose your quarterback in Altmaier, you lose 4 multi-year starters on the offensive line that all went to the NFL. Your tight end, who also was signed as an NFL free agent, two of your wide receivers, like, they lost a lot. Defensively, you lose 5 multi-year starters. The secondary still should be very good, right? With Bailey, Scott comes back from injury, Clark is back there. But the defensive line is yikes. I mean, what is this defensive line? Because guys you were counting on, like, transferred out to Purdue and Michigan State. DeRozier left for South Carolina. And then obviously, yeah, I mean, you lose Gabe Akis for a 4-year starter to the second round of the NFL draft. So, like, the replacements are yikes. I mean, they bring in a Penn guy. They bring in a linebacker from Utah State who they're talking about, who is bad. A Jacksonville State nose tackle who's bad. This defensive line is going to get shoved around. And I didn't even mention that they lost 165 starts on the offensive line. Now, you could argue that the offensive line is a bit overrated. Like, they could never get a consistent run game going. They didn't really, like, improve a ton but, like, they all still found themselves in NFL rosters, but it's a weird group. Caden Hauser takes over, comes in from ECU, was in the Big Ten before at Michigan State. And he was good last year at ECU, but this is a step up in class. And, all right, like, Dixon and Clement, you get at wide receiver are back, but, like, yeah, they're solid. You're going to move one of your running backs to tight end and Fagan. We'll see how that goes. This just looks, everywhere I look, this looks like a big step back for Illinois. Looking at the schedule, they do get 6 of the bottom 8. They do have to go on the road 5 times in Big Ten play. But 4 are a dream. Like, you get Maryland, UCLA, Northwestern, and Michigan State. Like, you can't ask for much better than that. So there's winnable games on here, but there's going to be a lot of coin flips. Right, like, if they could take care of Duke, you should probably start 3-0. Then you're going to get throttled at Ohio State. Then you get to host Purdue. Big swing game at Michigan State. And then, you're going to host Oregon and probably lose. And then there's a bunch of coin flip games late in the year. I want to go under with every fiber of my being. But the market was pretty sharp with this number. I project 6-6. So, what are you seeing with Illinois?
I'm at 7-2, but I don't like anything. And there's one thing I think the term I haven't heard you say is JUCO, right?
Yep. A lot of JUCO.
The amount of JUCO on here, like corner Jaquan Morris, JUCO, linebacker Ishmael Conte, JUCO, right? I think there's someone on the offensive line.
Yeah, a couple of their guards they added are from JUCO.
Yeah, and look, Bielema got up there at Big Ten Media Days and immediately kind of nipped it in the bud, saying we went the JUCO route. We liked a lot of those kids. I've been the JUCO route before. Like, it's almost like he knew it was coming, right? Like, why are we buying JUCO kids?
Yeah. I think they just know there's a rebuilding here. They also are hyping up this kid Martin, this left tackle from Martin from Colorado State. Yeah. Who's bad. I don't like the trenches are taking a big step back.
Well, Caden Hauser is no stranger to having to. There was some Arkansas about to come out, fixing to be. He's no stranger to having to be on the run. And I think that's what's going to have to happen here. Now, to his credit, his numbers were twice as many big-time throws and turnover-worthy plays. So a fifth-year senior coming into Illinois, Bielema mentioned we're really good with transfer quarterbacks. That's not going to be the problem. 9 rushing TDs last year for Caden Hauser. So is he going to be the only offense? We've seen it before, like Pat Bryant's injury. Like we've seen it where they have no weapons on the outside, and all of a sudden Luke Altmaier is leading rusher, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But I'm at 7.2. The defense, the names, JUCOs, I mean, that's worse than FCS that we were dogging on Iowa for. And, the offensive line, not impressed. Only 4 Big Ten home games. The only thing I will say, so I guess it's both a pass, but I lean under. It's just juiced too much to the under because it's been hit. And the only thing I'll point out is what I said at the beginning of the podcast of the first one. Bielema is great with extra time. 9-3 against spread bowls and extra weeks. You look who they're playing off a bye. Oregon coming to town. So the spread's going to be big. Should be close to 3 touchdowns, 18-19. That's a spot where you and I are going to have a trash section of Bielema.
We just might. Yeah, I mean, it's like some of the, they also lose everyone on their special teams. A couple things maybe working in their favor this year. Bielema went out, got a new defensive coordinator, brings in Bobby Hawk. They're going to run a completely different scheme.
Yeah.
And they're going to run a 3-3-5. They're going to try to blitz, create turnovers, which I think is smart. You want to have a unique scheme with this. Now, I don't know if they necessarily have the defensive lineman types to run this type of defense, but they're going to have to get turnover luck, force turnovers to win these coin flip games. And then I am very worried about their defensive line. And like, basically their whole front 6. But like, who on their schedule is going to run on them? That's the other thing. Like, besides the teams that they're like, they're going to lose to Ohio State and Oregon. But like the rest of their schedules: UAB, Duke, SIU, Purdue, Michigan State, Maryland, Nebraska, UCLA.
Maryland ain't running at all. Yeah,
Northwestern. So like, it's not like they're playing a ton of teams that are going to get run over. So I want to bet the under, but. I mean, last year, look, this is a team that was top 3 in returning production. Just this year, they're outside the top 75. It's just a rebuilding year for Illinois. Now, maybe Hauser's very good, and this offensive line somehow comes together, and the secondary carries the defense, and they get a bunch of turnovers, and they win the coin flips, and then they win 8 games again. That could happen. But it's passed for me. All right, let's move on.
Love you, Bielema. Never yield. Want to know.
All right, let's move on to Nebraska. Win total over 6.5, juice to the under.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at 6.8. I'm in on the over.
I'm 6.9. You're doing what?
I'm in on the over.
Oh God, you got so much more balls than me. All right, go ahead.
So here's my case.
Talk me into it because it's like right here. All
right, I'm going to try to talk you into it. So hopefully the offensive line can stay healthy because they've just had injuries every year.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Raiola is the most overrated quarterback in the country. I mean, this guy had a 35% pressure to sack rate. I mean, unbelievable the amount of sacks he would take. So now
the shit that he would give his offensive line after he got sacked.
And you now bring in Jeep Wade, an offensive line coach, because Raiola's gone, so you don't have Raiola coaching the offensive line anymore.
Hey, you don't have his dad.
Yeah, so you don't have his dad. You big upgrade offensive line coach. They have a lot.
Win-win-win.
They have a lot. Yeah, just wins everywhere. So you bring in Calandria's pressure to sack rate's way down. He can run, unlike Raiola.
And Latif can shadow that. They don't have to change the offense for the backup.
Yeah. So, and then By the way, you also bring in Rob Orch, who I think is a huge upgrade at defensive coordinator. So I think they upgraded their offensive line coach, their quarterback, their defensive coordinator. I mean, Rayola's sack rate last year was worst in FBS. Worst in FBS. And then, like, you look up front, like Evans at center, your left tackle, Pritchett's back, your right tackle. They have a lot of experience on the offensive line. They have 191 career offensive line starts.
Yeah.
And with a much better offensive line coach and a quarterback who's not going to take a billion sacks. So, like, I don't love their guard, the guards they brought in, which is a little bit concerning, like Mobenga from LSU and Black from Iowa State. I'm not in love with them. But I think this offense can be better because of the offensive line, and I think Calandra can be an upgrade over Raiola. And then I think this defense, which is going to be moving to a new scheme under Rob Orch, who saw a huge turnaround at San Diego State, brings a couple guys with him from San Diego State. By the way, Dad, they brought in a defensive end, Jones from UCLA, who's just okay. It's his 5th Big Ten school. He's been on 5 Big Ten schools. Pretty hilarious. But they bring in McDougal and Chambliss from San Diego State, who knows the defense. They had a couple guys in the secondary showed a lot. Secondary was very good last year. A couple guys who started as freshmen last year. Also, I think Nwaneri, I can never pronounce his name. Nwaneri and Shavers, they started as freshmen as well. So this is a good young defense. It's going to get an upgrade in coaching and scheme. And there's a kid, Odom, who I really love at cornerback, a true freshman who might end up playing a lot. So if they can just figure out the defensive line, which is a question.
I like the nose they got from BC.
Stoutmeyer?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Whittington can play for Pitt. And I think he fits this defense well. I also really like Evans, the nickelback from FIU. I think he has step up in class, but I think he can play. But I look at the schedule and
so, let me tell you this.
They're going to start 5-0, right?
I've got the whole schedule mapped out, and I think this is where you're going to be able to sell me to place this bet right now, right? Because there's losses coming to Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State. Just mark them off. And then there's 3 coin flip games, and they have to win one of these. They have to win one of these to get over this win total. The first one is hosting Washington. They have a great pass D, so it makes me a little nervous. Then there's Illinois. The Huskers have advantages in every single unit against Illinois. And then against Iowa, can they take advantage of the Hawkeyes' extremely soft, watered down, blue-collar version defensive line this year? The answer is they're supposed to win 2 of those 3, not just one of those 3. So to me, those are the 3 games.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I just numbers-wise, I show value. And I think because getting rid of Raiola, offensive line's going to be better. They're like a huge positive regression candidate. Like they were 10 of 30 on 4th downs. They so due to stay healthy on the offensive line. And I know they play each of the top 3. They're going to lose those games, but they also get 4 of the bottom 5. My numbers show value on this. I think their special teams are headed in the right direction also. And they're so due. I'm calling it this year. Mark this down. Ready? Nebraska will pull off a major upset. They've lost. They're 2-34 against teams ranked in the college football playoff polls in the playoff era. They haven't beat a ranked team since 2016. And I think they beat Oregon. It ends this year. I think they either get Indiana or Ohio State at home.
Yes. And it's because Indiana's on back-to-back travel. It's our first real game, but Ohio State is right before Michigan. Okay.
And what if Ohio State's 10-0? Like they're
over 6.5 plus 1.
Yeah, I'm going to shop around. Can you get I'll shop around, but I think you can get. I'm waiting for this to do this pod, but I think probably find like a plus 120 out there.
So I'm seeing plus 115 at DK. So you're shop around for better, but I'm hitting this now. So,
All right, we're on the board.
golly, you're killing
Knew
me.
I could convince you. All right. Let's let's move on to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, the bullish case for Wisconsin, over 6.5, slightly just the over, basically right around 6.5. The bullish case for the Badgers is the schedule. That's where you have to start with this team because they won the scheduling lottery. And it's a team that never wins. I mean, going back, things are different now. But
they have not won the scheduling lottery in years, right?
Yeah. They had the hardest schedule in the Big Ten last year. Now they have the easiest. No Indiana, no Ohio State, no Oregon. So none of the top three. They only get 3 of the my top 10 projected teams. They get 6 of the bottom 9. Lots of winnable games. They're going to go 2-1 in non-con. Right, so they're going to start 2-1. They beat Western Illinois, beat Eastern Michigan, lose to Notre Dame in Lambeau. And then they go to Penn State. So let's call it 2-2. And then there's going to be lots of winnable games. I mean, you host Michigan State. You have a bye, then you go to UCLA. You host USC. We know how they travel. Wouldn't shock me if USC lost to Wisconsin. At Iowa, we're down on Iowa. And then I think the key to their season, like, could this team win 8-9 games, is like, where are the teams at the end of their schedule at, right? Rutgers. What is Rutgers this year? Right, it's a brand new team, but like you're playing at the end of the year, they could just be. Where's Maryland? Right, is Loxley fired and everything is in shambles like it usually is with Maryland by November? Where's Purdue? Those are 2 road games at the end of the year that will have a huge implications. And then Minnesota, the last game of the year at home. So lots of coin flips. When you look at this team, I mean, their offense was so bad last year. They only scored 80 points in 9 Big Ten games. And their offense, like they had the worst offense in Power 4. They return a decent amount of production. It's going to come down to how Colton Joseph fares at quarterback, the Old Dominion transfer, and if he stays healthy. Wisconsin has had a quarterback get hurt every single year in the Fickle era. So, yeah, there's some talent to work with, but not really in love with this roster. It's just the schedule is very friendly because there's definitely questions on the offensive line. I mean, they lost 5 offensive linemen with 160 career starts, and that's Malman in the NFL, Bruner, who's going to start at tackle for Indiana, Renfro, who went to Illinois. That is a good get for Illinois, by the way. That's one position they could feel good about. He was their center. So, like, you look at the offensive line, now there's only 35 career starts. There's question there. How does Joseph's game translate to the Big Ten from ODU is certainly a question. I'm not overly impressed with the roster overall, but the schedule is definitely easy. Do you got anything on the Badgers?
Colton Joseph, if I did a blind resume and you showed me his numbers, I would think it's Cam Ward. Like 43 all-purpose TDs in his career, but he's had 24 rushing touchdowns and 22 fumbles. You know, like I just, everybody's excited at Wisconsin to get Colton Joseph. And yeah, he was great at ODU, but there are mistakes that exist with this guy. You know, this team to me, Michigan State week 5, they need to get right. They need much needed. They're going to need that for a third win after Western Illinois and EMU. And USC traveling to Camp Randall. We've talked about it in previous pod. I don't like anything where USC travels. Maryland, a coin flip game, but we haven't got to their handicap yet. They're a one-trick pony on offense, and that's generally what Wisconsin can shut down. And Purdue, I mean, there's a lot here with the schedule. I mean, this is Penn State-ish.
Yeah, Penn State and Wisconsin definitely won that battle. I mean, how can this team?
The offensive line has too many questions for me, and so not as just question of the offensive line. Stuck. You're taking on Notre Dame week 1, and I get worried. I get worried about injuries in the big showcase games. And this is what? This is Sunday night. This isn't even our opening Saturday. This is a primetime showcase game. I just get worried about injuries in the trench game 1. with big, massive defenses.
Yeah, I'm not in love with this offensive line. I mean, like, you're going to have, like, I will say Haywood was supposed to start last year, and then he got hurt in the summer, and then it caused all kinds of shuffling, and it kind of, like, spoiled their offensive line from the start. He'll be back at right tackle, but they're dealing with some injuries already. Like, the only thing they bring back on the offense, not including Haywood, because he didn't play last year, is 2 sophomore guards. And then like a wide receiver at 120 yards. So like this is a reset on offense. And like the tackle battle is like Simmons Johansson from Florida State and Wilkins, who I'm not a fan of from Ole Miss. You know, the center from Oklahoma State is just meh. The position players are just meh. Like
set the total for the Wisconsin-Iowa game.
27 and a half.
And why is it 9.5?
So like, yeah, just are you a fan of your guy Boone from Arkansas?
No.
Yeah, neither am I. He's just meh. Now if Scott, the redshirt freshman, can win the other cornerback spot, that would be a good sign, because otherwise it's probably Fletcher from Oak State who's just meh. But like, and maybe West is a guy that elevates his game. He's from Ohio State at nickel. But like everyone they brought in is just meh. And then this could all go downhill, right? If they lose a couple coin flip games, it's like Fickle, we're done with this.
He might not be there for the Purdue game.
Yeah. And the Maryland game and the Minnesota. Yeah. So I project 6.54. No, I'm sorry. I'm at 6.74. So like my numbers lean slightly over.
Yeah, me too. Well, and I think one thing that bothers me, we said this last year, I'll continue to say it, you look at some of the coordinators he's had and what they've done since they've left and how great they've been, right? And so how successful is Fickle?
All right, let's move on to UCLA. UCLA win total 6.5, juice to the under. They had a disastrous start to last year. Disastrous. Deshaun Foster gets fired, and then we saw some improvement. Nico is back at quarterback. He has to stay healthy, I will say that. The backup for UCLA is his freshman brother. It's going to get dark quick. I'm
going to tell you right now.
It gets.
It was a year ago. He almost won the Arkansas job, and his dad pulled him out.
Yep. So
2 years ago, yeah.
It's the Bob Chesney era. And he brings his JMU coordinators. He brings a lot of JMU players with him. So one of the major questions here is, how will the JMU players translate at a higher level for a full season? Right? Like you have, and one of the things I will mention for this UCLA team, there's Scooter Jackson, who is like the projected starting outside corner. They still don't know if he's going to be eligible, pending a waiver. If he's not, everything shifts. And like Barksdale's probably going to have to go outside corner. Martin probably shifts to nickel. And then like everything shifts. And Barksdale's much better as a slot. That's like a domino that could fall that I think would actually hurt this defense. And then they're going to need like a lot of the JMU guys to hit. You bring in some others from Power 4, like Johnson at safety for Utah, Asamoah, the linebacker from Oklahoma. I think those were decent gets.
They need Wayne Knight. They need Wayne Knight to still be 3.8 yards after first contact.
Yeah, Wayne Knight. And it's a deep running back room, but they need Wayne Knight to be that bell cow. But Woods and Thomas are back as well. But then how does some of these offensive linemen for JMU translate to the Big Ten? Because, I mean, Sweezy, it looks like he's going to start at guard. Robel, it looks like he's going to start at center from JMU. Hal Schmidt at right tackle. Not a fan, but they have experience. Davis comes from South Alabama, has experience at left tackle. I don't think he's any good. So, like, I don't love this offensive line, and I don't love the defensive line is. So I think they're going to be behind in the trenches, and it's going to be too much to overcome. And like, is Nico? Can he play more consistent? So I mean, the offensive line, like, it could be better. But last year was a disaster. And the defensive line last year was a disaster too. I mean,
Well, you got to believe it's a cultural issue. Like when you fire a coach and you go from absolutely having nothing on offense, being a zombie, and then Jerry Neuheisel's not even shaving yet, and he's getting upsets. I mean, had to be a cultural problem last year.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, I'm a little bit worried about the offensive line and defensive line, but both were disasters last year. Like, their defensive line last year was so bad. But the question just comes down, and the schedule's pretty favorable, right? They get 4 of the bottom 6. They avoid Indiana. They avoid Ohio State. They have 5 home games, although one of them is against USC, which isn't as much of an advantage. The question comes down to, do you trust Chesney? And then do you trust the JMU transfers at this level? Because it looks like you could have, 8 potential JMU starters, but maybe running back, wide receiver, tight end, center, right guard, defensive end, linebacker, nickelback, / maybe CB2. Do you trust them? And it sounds like you do. You like the over on UCLA.
I feel like I've flip-flopped on this team 4 times in the last 2 months. I'll tell you that. Chesney gets hired, I'm like, let's go. I mean, he has proven offense. He's proven it everywhere he's been. He is very well put together in interviews that I had heard. And then I started doing some research into Nico Iamalava's numbers. And it turns out all this success that I thought that he had was really just scrambles. Wasn't even designed runs. I thought they were designed running him. No, it was scrambles. So the difference, and his pressure to sack ratio dropped like 25 to 18%. That is still way high. But when he was at Tennessee, he was a statue. Then he started running them around. He cut that out a little bit. But I was kind of under the impression these were designed runs. They're not. They're just scrambles. His highlights were scrambles.
Yeah, they need to run him more. They need to.
But he is not a part of he was not a part of an actual designed run, which I thought he was. And so I went one way on UCLA. Then I get to Big Ten Media Days, and Bob Chesney tells me that he and Sean
Chesney
McVay
won you over, huh?
Oh my God, Chesney tells me Sean McVay and I are friends, and I have already talked to him extensively about their schedule when they fly to the East Coast for games. They take off at the same day at the same time. They come back at the same day at the same time. They have absolute the same routine every single trip.
McVay's one of the best coaches in the NFL against the spread and straight up when it comes to traveling into the East Coast.
And Chesney is taking all of his travel rules that he has gotten from Sean McVay into this season. 3 separate trips going to the East Coast. That's not easy. That's not easy, right? So I believe in Chesney. He is buttoned up. The guy is buttoned up. And I believe in Wayne Knight. I think he'll do some things. The schedule's great, right? San Diego State, 0 defense. Maybe the worst in the Pac-12. Purdue, that's a win. UCLA has a better trench than Maryland, and they have 0 running game. They could be 4-0 going into Oregon.
Top 10 returning production, too, in the country. So they have.
Look at the schedule, like after Eugene. Michigan State, Nevada, an Illinois team that has JUCO trench. I'm on, you count me in. I'm over 6.5 plus money.
I can see it. It's just going to come down to the JMU transfers. How well do they translate at this level? Because it could be 40% of their starters.
It won't be lack of zombiness to East Coast travel like we've seen some Big Ten teams do.
All right, let's move on to Minnesota and talk a little row the boat. Now, on the surface, Minnesota's win total is 6.5 juiced to the under, or you can go 5.5 heavily juiced to the over. This is an interesting team. Now, on the surface, it's like screaming regression because you look last year. They won 8 games, but it easily could have been much, much worse. And against some bad. They went 4-1 in 1 possession games. They were +7 turnover margin. Some of the teams that they beat were some of the worst in the Big Ten, and they barely beat them. And in many of those games, they were completely outplayed, like Michigan State, Purdue. They were outgained by 150, 200 yards in some of these games. Now, they do avoid Oregon and Ohio State, but they go to Indiana, Washington, Penn State, and Wisconsin. I'm not, like, I should be selling this team, but I'm not for a couple of reasons. I think I think Coy Parrish, by the way, is overrated. So that loss to Oregon, I think, is overstated. They have good defenders at every level that are returning. Like, I think getting back Smith off the edge, who's going to play in the NFL, him coming back, which was surprising. Baranowski at linebacker, Brown, like every single level of this defense, they have all conference caliber players. I think their offensive line is going to be much better. They have a couple pros there. The guys that they lost were really bad. So I don't think that they're going to get any worse in that department. So they might actually have a running game to go with them. They're top 10 in returning production on offense and defense. Fleck has won, 10, 8, 8, 5, 7, 7 games the last 6 years. The one concern, there's a lot of concerns, but it's all about the tackles. Like the interior, I think the offensive line is going to be really good. If the tackles hit, like if Roy can take the next step, he started as a freshman, and then you might have another redshirt freshman as the other tackle. So if the tackles hit, this offensive line could be very good and much improved. And then you're actually going to have a running game, and you bring back your stud running back. And I think the kicker to this is they run a very pro-style complex offense. And with the quarterback does a lot of reads and calls and signals at the line of scrimmage. And getting Drake Lindsey back again after understanding the offense, and he had a bad offensive line play and no running game help. And his wide receivers weren't great last year. I think he can take the next step. I think he's an NFL caliber quarterback. I think he could be drafted in the second-ish round. I'm not betting against that. My biggest concern, I want to see who's going to be the second corner. It could be Gooseby. He was moved there last year. But the defensive line, the interior defensive line could be bad. And that's very worrisome. They lost Eastern. He was drafted. Logan Redding signed as an NFL free agent. And the guys that they brought in, it's Crowder from Marshall, Chapman from FIU. It's troublesome. So I am worried about the interior defensive line, but I think they have enough to I would prefer over 5.5 heavy juice. This team's getting to a bowl. They'll find a way. I like their new offensive line coach as well. So I will say also why I might end up going over. Here's a nuance to their schedule. I'm not saying they're going to beat Indiana at Indiana. This is just the start of the string. They play at Indiana 2 weeks after their bye. That's Indiana's 9th straight game. Indiana hasn't had a bye yet. Northwestern in the second to last week, that's Northwestern's 10th straight game because Northwestern has a bye in week 2 because of their schedule stuff. Wisconsin, in the finale at Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin's 7th straight game and a stretch of 4 of 6 on the road. And Wisconsin could be dead without Fickle and quit by then. So, some of the nuances of the schedule work in their favor as well. And it's the first time Flex, he's had a lot of changes at defensive coordinators. There's some continuity there. This team has a lot of continuity, and I think Lindsey, another year of this complex offense. I know that look, they lost their best receiver to the NFL, and the wide receivers aren't going to wow anybody, but as long as the interior defensive line isn't just a complete sieve, this team's getting to 6 and I think 7 wins. So lean over, might still get there. Might throw them in to get to a bowl parlay. Do you have any quick thoughts on Minnesota?
I think the win total is right. It's juiced correctly, but bowl season resides completely on winning 3 of 4. Mississippi State, it's a really tough handicap. Iowa, and Darius Taylor should absolutely eat the Iowa defensive line alive. UCLA, not a great run D expected. And Minnesota's D is not going to have a problem containing Nico. And then there's Northwestern. They got to win 3 of 4. Mississippi State, Iowa, UCLA, Northwestern.
Yeah.
That's a bowl team.
And Fleck will win the bowl like he always does every year.
And then he will immediately be looking for a bigger job like he always does too.
Yep. They do need to find a kicker, by the way. That could swing some of the close games. All right.
God, I've really missed like doing this, and you just like it's like the kicker has to always be included. It's the greatest thing ever.
Well,
it fucks us on so many tickets.
All right, we're gonna do the wheel for the Final Four. Let's knock out Maryland real quick first.
All right.
Maryland coming to the year this is a team, win total sitting at 5.5, and it's now juiced to the under. Who's around even money, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go over on Maryland. I'm gonna do it. And I was about to get there to convince myself. I mean, this is a team that, like, on paper, they should maybe start 4-0. Hampton at UConn, Vatek, and UCLA at home. Then you go to Nebraska, to Ohio State. You get Rutgers at home. You get Illinois at home. We're low on Illinois. Or lower. They're going to be down compared to last year. At Purdue. Wisconsin at home. Who knows where they're at by that point of the year. Penn State at home. 5 Big Ten home games. Face a lot of teams with new quarterbacks. And this is a team that ranks second returning production. New offensive coordinator with a system that I think fits Malik Washington better. You actually have a backup quarterback now. They didn't last year, so Washington would never run. There's second in returning production nationally. So, and by the way, that backup is Cardell Williams, who was the quarterback for San Jose State last year. He transferred in June. They bring in another 5-star for their defensive line. And then I look at this roster and I say, okay, the one thing that's really held them back is the offensive line. Like, their offensive line has been like guys from such lower levels. And, you lose 2 multi-year starters, one to the NFL, one to LSU. You bring back a center who you can rely on. You bring back 2 other starters who are just meh, but like at least you have some experience there. The question for me was going to be receiver. Like, Maryland, as bad as they've been under Loxley, is they've always had good receivers. And now it's like, you need who's the alpha? And like Chris Durr from Wyoming, Gladding from ODU, I don't know if they have an alpha wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't been able to run the ball in years.
Not for the strength of Washington's arm.
Yeah. And they haven't been able, he doesn't take sacks, but he just will get rid of it instead of getting hit. So then I look at the defense and I'm like, this defense could be pretty good, but they're thin at a couple of positions. So the first thing I wanted to watch is in week 8 last year, they moved Joyner to the slot and he played really well there. Their secondary played well. And, but with him back and, they lost Husky, who was a really good safety who got drafted in the 3rd round. And they lost another depth corner to Arkansas. But if they had Joyner back in the slot, and then you have Glasgow on the outside, and you bring in Jackson, who I really like from BC, if he can stay healthy, that I love. And then you bring back your stud defensive ends, Stewart and Mathis. You have experience at linebacker. And then what happens? Mathis gets hurt. He's out for the year. 5-star, was going to take another leap this year. Joyner is off the team. He called his girlfriend like 476 times the day he got arrested for like stalking. I don't know the story, but he's not on the team anymore. And they're so thin at corner. And now Jackson, who's had nothing but injuries, you need him. And now your slot position is open. And I was like I was worried about the cornerback depth because of Jackson. And then I hear this Joyner story, and now he's off the team, and then they lose their stud defensive end. So I can't do it. I'm not going under, but it's enough. There's enough things going on, and then like that. I'm out on it. So there was a lot of things to like, and I was so close to clicking the over. Are you? I know you have written down here. The only things we have written down we don't share is right before the show we write down pass over. You have lean over, so you're not quite getting there, but you're kind of.
I'm at 5.9. I'm at 5.9, and I echo everything you say. I think Clint. Once upon a time, Arkansas hired Clint Trickett as an offensive coordinator, and then he left 2 months later, and here he is. That up-tempo offense with the vertical passing is going to be fantastic. So I like it schematically what they are. What does that mean? The handicap becomes that up-tempo passing game has to take advantage of secondaries that are softer on the schedule. Well, guess what? They have 4 coin flips where that comes into play. They need to win 2 of them to make a bowl because they're getting Hampton, UConn, Rutgers, and Purdue. So 2 of these 4, Virginia Tech, whose defensive backs are not projected in the top 10 of the ACC, UCLA, whose defensive backs are mid-pack, Big Ten, Illinois, mid-pack, Big Ten, might be the only thing they got, Wisconsin, projected best. It's weird. They're like their best linebacker coverage group, one of the worst DB, one of the worst secondaries in the conference. There's advantages here to get 2 of those 4 coin flips to make this bowl, to get this over 5.5. But you mentioned these things means the program is loose and it's not the structure that you want to invest your money in because mistakes happen and losses come.
Which means they'll start, and then they'll start like 4-0, and then finish 5-7 again.
How many have they not gone 4-0 and then shit the bed the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think they were 4-0 last year, then lost 8. But there was so much to start to like about this team, like Washington coming back after showing promise as a freshman, a new scheme with a new offensive coordinator that I like, and then like the defense. It has size. There's questions of the defensive line, but they have a lot of size. Their linebackers. I like the group. Like their edge rushers were going to be great, and then the secondary, if like Jackson was healthy, and then Joyner didn't get arrested, like because like I know that you lost Husky, but like Delhomme and Scruggs would have been fine at safety, but then things started happening. So and they have a good kicker and punter that are back. I know I have to mention that. Everything else is bad on their special teams though. Short kickoffs are an issue for them. Keep that in mind for field position. All right, so we both lean over, but can't quite get there. All right, let's bring out the wheel for the dregs. The final 4 teams: Northwestern, Michigan State, Purdue, and Rutgers.
That's a quad right there.
All right, we're going to the wheel for the dregs. New feature, new podcast feature this year. Did it for the MAC conference. Collin, we have 4 teams left. You can give your quick thoughts. It could just be like pass or just something to mention about the team. But you're up first. Your team is the Michigan State Spartans. Congratulations. Michigan State win total 4.5, juiced to the under. The big news with Michigan State this year is new coach. New coach back in the Big Ten. Pat Fitzgerald brings in a staff that they bring Joe Rossi as defensive coordinator, Nick Sheridan, the offensive coordinator. Some of the other hires I did like. And you have a quarterback who showed some promise last year after taking over as the starter. What do you think of the Spartans this year?
I practiced his name when I was writing the podcast script, so let's see if I can pull this off. Alisio Milivojevic.
Nice.
That's hard. He was promoted QB1. He started 4 games for them in 2025. He threw 10 TDs. They're expecting big things out of him. And, his 6 touchdowns in the final 2 games against Iowa and Maryland. Can that carry over? It can. but they need more help on the team. Joe Rossi's bringing that base odd hybrid scheme, standing edge. I mean, it's a diverse zone. Uses cover two buzz, robber. I mean, he only has one of his top 8 tacklers back. So there's going to be some holes trying to learn that defense for the complexity that he brings, in my opinion.
D-line looks super weak, too.
I project them, hold on to your ass here, I project them at 2.9.
Sheesh.
Under 3.5. Well, you're beating Toledo and EMU. Toledo, who's going through their own Jacobs Mercer thing, right?
I mean, Toledo's not a guaranteed win, though. Like,
I don't know if they, but after listening to you, I don't know if they're going to beat Eastern Michigan, right?
Yeah, they'll beat Eastern Michigan, but it'll be a close game. That's all Chris Creighton does is play close games.
All right, well, coin flip Rutgers, which means then you're asking Fitz to beat Illinois or Northwestern, which I don't think is happening. There's not.
Yeah, I'm not high on Fitzgerald, but I do like his hires. Like he brought the special teams coordinator from Iowa, Joe Rossi, Nick Sheridan, but here's like the roster has issues, like the defensive line. I mean, this is a roster. They lost 43 players to the portal, 7 to NFL rosters, and they're changing offensive schemes. So like. My other question is, does Milivojevic, you did it better than I did. Milivojevic new scheme, but like last year there were some pieces to work with. Like you lost a really good center who was drafted. Now their guards were horrendous, so who cares they lost them? But I mean, I look at the offensive line, and I mean, they were counting on this like Georgia Southern kid to start, he might not even win the job. Sharp is coming in from South Carolina at left guard, but he's going to move back to right guard, which is smart because that's where he played under the offensive line coach who was from Wake Forest. I like that hire as well. Morawski, the left tackle from UConn, the center from North Dakota State, like their offensive line has some potential if they can figure out right tackle. Bringing Cam Edwards from UConn, who could be the workhorse. But like where it all falls apart is like the pieces that I'm referencing last year. Like you had Nick Marsh, the wide receiver who's starting at Indiana this year. He's going to be a stud. You had Velling, the tight end, who is on an NFL roster. You had Amari Kelly, a wide receiver, who's going to be on an NFL roster. Who were your pass catchers this year? Like the McCray in the slot, like he's a Kent State guy. Like, okay. And then they brought in some other, like they brought in Smith from Notre Dame, Moore from Michigan. Like, who cares? And then like maybe one of them was going to rise up, but it looks like they're just going with depth guys from last year. So like the starters are going to be, it looks like Taplin, Bullard, and McCray. But Bullard might not even be eligible. Like they're saying, I don't even think he might be eligible. Like, so who are the pass catchers in a new scheme? So I can't really get behind this offense yet. Also, the special teams. I love the Iowa special teams coach. He probably sees something I don't. But they lost a punter to the NFL, and their kickers from Charlotte, who like missed he was missing like 20 yarders last year. So I don't know how that's going to work out. But and then by the way, if Miljovic doesn't work out, you know who the backup quarterback is? Cam Fancher. Somehow, Cam Fancher. I will tell you, we will be fading Michigan State no matter the number if Cam Fancher comes in. So, yeah, there's some guys they brought in on defense that I like on the back end. Like bringing back Brantley, I think, from that corner makes sense. But there's still too many holes on this defense. You do miss – we don't get to play Ohio State. You don't have to play Indiana. You don't play USC. So you're only playing 3 of the top 8. You get 6 of the bottom 10. You do also have to go to Notre Dame. So – and the schedule gets harder at the end. Like you finish with at Michigan, Washington, Oregon, and then at Rutgers. That's not great for like a brand new team. So there's something like I like some of the hires, but there's just too many question marks. So I project I'm higher than you.
Oh, everyone's higher than me. I'm
around 4. I'm like 4 too.
Yeah.
I might have to write that down.
I think SP plus is 4.3, but it doesn't add up for me. Any of it.
All right, let's spin the wheel. And for me, the Northwestern Wildcats. All right, well, we just talked about Michigan State. And who's the quarterback going to be for Northwestern this year? Aiden Childs transfers to Northwestern. And the big news out for Northwestern, a couple of things. New offense coordinator, Chip Kelly, and who brings, we talked about Newhouse was going to be the new quarterback coach.
Mm-hmm.
They have a new stadium, which is the most that's going to open presumably for the Penn State game. They also, because of that, they have a bye in week 2, which means they play 11 straight games to end the year, which might be tough. They're opening a new stadium, most expensive stadium in all of college football. It's like $850 million. They also just got a donation from the Owain family. They lost their linebacker, Mac Owain, who they signed as like a 3-star back in 2020. Well, it turns out his parents are billionaires in the shipping industry, and they decided to donate $35 million. What a signing! I think Owain just got a tryout with the Bears or something. So I think David Braun's a good coach. Like, he always seems to exceed expectations. This team will fight. I think that the game might have passed Chip Kelly by. I'm curious to see, but like his system and what he wants to do on paper, Aiden Childs does fit. Like RPOs, run him a bit. But when I look at this roster, right here, the first thing I'll say is I was all the way out on Northwestern because now they just find ways that they find smart offensive linemen and they develop them. And they lost another good one in their left tackle in Tiernan, drafted in the 3rd round. They also lost their right guard, Bernstein, who was just signed as a free agent. They lost their right tackle, Lewis, but he was terrible. Who cares? The offensive line was going to be a disaster for me until their center, Carcello, got eligibility. That's huge because their one known thing on this offensive line was Orataki, their guard, who's going to be a very good player. He was good last year, very, very young. If Carcello wasn't eligible, he was going to have to move to center. But now, because Carcello is eligible, you have 2 known offensive line, just 2 known commodities there. So that helps a lot. You bring in a left tackle from Oklahoma State, who's just okay, but he was a starter. So we'll see how the offensive line shakes out from there. But that is just a huge, huge granting of another year. There's a chance like you could get a freshman at left guard, Rahuski, I think his name is. But you bring some of your wide receivers back. You bring your running backs back. So there's some things to like on offense if you believe in Aiden Childs. Got all the tools. Like, you watch him, you can make a throw, you can run. You're like, wow. Are you a believer in him? My answer is no. And the best way that I can sum it up, because, and by the way, like I think the right side of their offensive line is very concerning to me, like Bursa and McGuire. Not sure that's going to work out. But they just tend to find offensive linemen and develop them. But here's why I'm not a fan. Why I think Childs is just doomed. I mean, he has footwork issues. He has touch issues. Like, just some of the intermediate throws. We can look at your boy, Milivojevic.
Yep.
At Michigan State. Milivojevic. Eventually, I'll get it.
Yeah,
they were on the same offense last year with the same players and the same staff. And, I mean, Milivojevic actually played against tougher competition. If you look at intermediate throws, out of all 143 qualified FBS quarterbacks, Aiden Childs was number 125 in passer rating. Milivojevic was number 1 in the country. Same players, same scheme, 125 spot difference. Basically almost first and last. How about under pressure? Hold on. How about under pressure? Childs, 56 Childs completed 38% of his passes under pressure. Miljojevic, 56%. Adjusted completion percentage, Miljojevic, 70%. Childs, 45%. So I trust Braun. There's some things to like about this offense. The defense, there's some concerning things. I mean, like they lose, 4 reliable multi-year starters. The biggest concern is the defensive line. Like, where are the pressures coming from? You lose Saka to Texas A&M, Bastone, who I think is starting in the CFL. You lose Hubbard to the NFL, who started for 4 years. You also lost Story, who was there for 4 years. That's like 85 pressures. Where are you, like, who do they bring in to replace them? Not much. So, like, their secondary could be decent, but their front seven is very concerning. I like their new kicker. Got to mention the kicker from Bowling Green, but you're going to have a freshman punter. And they're just their front seven. Outside of Kilbane, I don't trust it. I'm not a Childs guy. Now, if you're a Childs guy, you can make the case for the over. So, like, the other thing with their schedule, they do get, you have Rutgers on there at home. You have Ball State at home. South Dakota State at home, although that could be tricky. You open the stadium for Penn State. Like, you do get Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State, but those are on the road. Like, you're going to lose them anyway, so just burn them on the road, which I think is a good thing. But are you a Childs guy? If you are, maybe you like the over. If you're not, you're out. And I'm not a Childs guy. You'd be surprised if Nico Markel is starting by halfway through the year.
I have like 6 bullet points to answer here, and I don't even know why I'm defending him that much.
What am I missing?
Childs saw 232 pressures on 620 dropbacks. All right? He's like a piñata at a 6-year-old birthday party. I mean, the guy has been battered, right? I mean, you didn't take any of those numbers.
Miljojevic had a higher pressure rate and was like 30% better.
No.
Yes. Look at the pressure rate for Miljojevic. I bet it was higher. He's playing better competition.
Do you not think that Aiden Childs can be a version of Dorian Thompson-Robinson for Chip Kelly?
They also don't. He doesn't have any speed at receiver. Like, Chip Kelly needs speed at receiver, and he needs like mobile offensive line. Like,
do you all the things that you talked about, all the things that you talked about that's wrong with Aiden Childs is exactly what they said about Dorian Thompson-Robinson before Chip Kelly got to Westwood. Everything you said about Childs is what they said about DTR.
Bet them to win the Big Ten.
No.
Well, you're all in on Penn State. Northwestern's going to ruin that ticket then if he figures out Childs. Open the new stadium. Childs has been solved. Your Penn State ticket's cooked.
No.
And guess what? You know why my USC ticket is live? Because we don't have to face Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Northwestern.
Listen, everything you said about Childs is exactly what they said about DTR.
Right.
All right. Here's something that bothers me, right? They play 11 straight games. I've reread this schedule 8 times today. They play 11 straight games.
Yeah, because they have an early bye. It's like for the stadium.
Who plays 11 straight games?
Yeah, it's insane. And like in those 11, you're going to Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. Like, you could get beat up, and depth could become an issue.
It's shocking. I think the play, although this will be their 11th straight game, is the game of the year plus 3.5 against Illinois. The reason is because even if Northwestern is at 4 wins, they know that 5 in the APR could get them into a bowl. They will still play like hell at 4 wins just to get to 5.
Yeah, they're always going to play hard for Brown.
So the direction I think Illinois is going, I don't think they're going to be 3.5-point favorites over Northwestern by the end of the season. So, game of the year, multiple books, Northwestern plus 3.5 versus Illinois.
All right.
Childs
is their 11th straight game now.
Childs is DTR. How did we get to that?
Purdue Rutgers, baby. Oh, God. This is for you. By the way, Northwestern win total is 5.5. Collin with his boy Barry Odom and Purdue win total 3.5, juiced to the under. This is Purdue. It's like kind of another reset. Why is he hiring Kevin Kane, the defensive coordinator? What the hell's going on there? Just a failed defensive coordinator wanted to bring him back.
I didn't know Barry needed that kind of help on defense.
You do bring back quarterback and Ryan Brown. You are in a better shape returning production-wise because last year was a complete reset. It was basically year zero, but it was a disaster. I mean, they started 2-0, then lost 10 straight. They did go 0-3 one-possession games. They were minus 12 in turnover margin. They only had 4 interceptions. So, there's some positive regression signs. Mm-hmm. Can they get to 4 wins is the question. They're going to probably go 0-5 on the road and lose to Notre Dame. Their road games are UCLA, Illinois, Penn State, Iowa, Indiana, and then Notre Dame. So there's 6 games at home. Can they win 4 of them? Wake Forest, Indiana State, Minnesota, Washington, Maryland, and Wisconsin, who could be a lame duck at the end of the year. What do you think?
See, Washington and Wisconsin, I think, are losses.
So I don't think Wisconsin could be a lame duck at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't just completely like Wisconsin could have like Fickle fired and another quarterback hurt, and so I wouldn't completely write that one off. They like the variance and the situation in Wisconsin if it goes sour could work in their favor there. But what do you project here?
I project them at 2.7. But I mean, think about it. These. So under 3.5 minus 140 is obviously juice close. I mean, not all the way, but it's getting close to my 2. It's 2.76, so 2.8.
Yeah.
Here's the 4 games. This whole thing.
Yeah.
Like Indiana State, right? They should win that game. Wake Forest. That's very decent pass coverage. They do have the better quarterback with Gio Lopez. What about Minnesota?
I don't know about that.
Minnesota, they don't have the run defense for that, for Darius Taylor. What about Maryland versus Malik Washington up tempo? Like, I don't know where these 4 wins come from. This is an under.
I'm at 3-3. It's a pass for me. This, by the way,
Gio Lopez is better. Gio Lopez is the same as Ryan Brown.
I'll take Ryan Brown over Gio Lopez.
This is wild tonight, these quarterback comparisons.
You're starting a team tomorrow. You're taking Gio Lopez over Ryan Brown?
Over Ryan Brown?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I did put it in my notes that he has a very low 12% pressure to sack ratio. So,
speaking of Brown, well, you think he's terrible. Yeah. Purdue has no depth at quarterback. If he gets hurt, he's going to run around a bunch. It could get ugly. Transfer heavy defense. I'm not a Kane guy. I got to mention special teams. They lose their kicker to Notre Dame and they lose an all-conference punter. So that could be worse there. But Odom usually figures out special teams. But like, where will Maryland and Wisconsin be at the end of the year, physically, mentally? That could determine this win total. Pass for me. And then finally, Rutgers. Man, you want to talk about an absolute
Evans Chuba, the backup, Ryan Brown. Sorry.
Yeah, it's ugly. All right, we'll close things up with Rutgers. Win total 4.5, juice to the over. This defense last year was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever watched in my life. I mean, the last 6 games, they gave up 8.5 yards per carry and had only 2 sacks. It was horrendous. So they bring in Johansson from South Dakota State to try and fix this defense. They need to hit on their transfers that they brought in. Now, it can't get much worse than last year, but they bring in a ton of transfers. They also had some injuries that they dealt with, but it was so bad. And a lot of guys they bring back on defense were bad. So, like, they really need the transfers to hit because some of the guys they lost 4 or 5 guys to the NFL or Power 4 programs. You do get, like, Doug Blue Eli, who was supposed to start on defensive tackle back from injury. So the defense is going to be better, but, like, how much better? They need to find a pass rush somehow. It can't be worse. I'll put it that way. Then you lose Kaliakmanis, the Greek rifle at quarterback. You're hoping that you can hit with either still a quarterback battle going on.
Is it? I was kind of told
I think Lonergan's going to win it. Yeah, no one's been named a starter.
It's not Lonergan. I thought Lonergan was just assumed.
No, the kid who's been a backup for the last couple of years, Surace or AJ Sarasi, he's in the mix as well. But you lose, like you get Duff back at receiver, who's a stud, but who's helping him? That's one of the biggest questions because you lose Strong to Cal, Sheffield to the NFL. You're going to need some young guys to step up at wide receiver to help you out. At least you have some talent on the offensive line, some returning experience, and at least you have Raymond back in the backfield to help out. But it's going to come down to like Lonergan, who showed in flashes but just inconsistent at BC. And then if someone else can emerge to help out Duff, the offense could have some juice like it did last year. And then it's just how much better can the defense get? Like it's almost impossible to get worse. But you're going to get like Johansson wants to run like a positionless 4-2-5. And then I think the special team should be better. They had a down year last year, but everyone's back, and Shiano's usually good in that department. I like the O-line coach hire as well. And they have like they have like 80 plus FBS starts and 80 plus FCS starts on that offensive line. So like there's experience to work with. This comes down to Lonergan and help for Duff. So yeah, I project for Rutgers 4.9. So like I'm right on market schedule wise. There's no Oregon and Ohio State. They get 3 of the top 5 and 3 of the bottom 5. So that gets pretty fair and balanced Big Ten schedule. You could argue if the defense raises its floor and Lonergan hits, someone else emerges to help Duff, this offensive line with a lot of experience comes together, you could argue a ceiling at 8 wins. Now, I'm not calling for that, but like there's 8 winnable games here. UMass, BC, Howard, Maryland. I mean, you get USC traveling across the country, and that's a good like situational spot. Northwestern, Wisconsin, Michigan State, like there's winnable games on this, but I'm right on market. It's a pass for me. Anything for you on Rutgers?
Well, I think Lonergan was the one that I thought was going to be taking over. I mean, he had a real stable turnover worthy play rate. With pressure, it only went up 1%. So at least he is good with pressure. But, this team, I think Shiano set the tone. He got Big Ten Media Days and started apologizing for the defense. Said it's all my fault. It's all my fault. I take full responsibility for what's happened to us. And I can't figure out, Stuckey, why the defenses can become absolutely the worst that we've ever seen, giving up 9 yards a carry. But these head coaches are former great defensive coordinators, Shiano and Aranda. Why do their defenses suck so bad when that's supposed to be their specialty? It's like there's got to be a systematic problem here. There has to be a real systematic problem when you used to be that good as a DC. I mean, shit, wasn't Shiano just? I mean, think of the schools and the program and the NFL that he's been at. This defense should not have gotten that bad.
It was embarrassing. Like
bottom 10,
the blown coverages, it was all embarrassing. So, are you passing on Rutgers?
Where do they get 5 wins?
Well, I just told you,
UMass. No, it's only UMass, and then Lonergan playing BC is fascinating. Howard, and Michigan State. I think that's it. That's it. Just 4
at Penn State.
No, what?
All right. Let's sum it all up here. Who's your Big Ten winner?
I think Ohio State beats Oregon, which gets Oregon to the playoff without playing the Big Ten championship game. So, and Indiana, I think Ohio State will beat Indiana. Mine's Ohio State. It doesn't matter who they play out of the tiebreakers. It could be Penn State. Penn State could be the lemming that goes and gets their ass kicked by Ohio State. Because that Penn State schedule, you could go to the championship game with that schedule and tiebreakers.
So could Rutgers. All right. All right. I'm picking the regular season warrior, Dan Lanning. Oregon wins the Big Ten. and then gets bounced.
It's true.
All right.
But we also agree that he blows in rematches, right? Keep that in mind. Let's see if he's got a path this year in the playoff, not have any damn rematches.
All right, let's summarize our favorite win totals and futures and get out of here. So we got SEC pod to prepare for, and then we'll have ACC and Big 12 in a couple days. This is going to be a long, long week. I'll start. Favorite win totals. I lean Ohio State under. Think I'm just going to bet Texas money line with Collin. I like USC over, but just numbers wise. But I'm going to bet the upside in the playoff because of their freshmen and the upside there. And the new rule, I think, benefits them with being able to play the number one recruiting class in the country and some of their freshmen from last year. Better injury luck. I think there's some variance with the team because they're going to need some of these freshmen to hit. Hopefully, I don't regret backing Gary Patterson, but we'll see how it goes. I like Nebraska over. Coaching upgrades, quarterback upgrades. I think they get the 7 wins. And I know it's scary, but we're going under on Iowa.
Yeah.
This team is it's a reset year. They're going to be worse than the offensive line, even though they'll still be pretty good. Their defensive line looks very weak, and their special teams are even in question. And most importantly, the quarterback play is going to be disastrous. I don't think Iowa gets to 8 wins this year. So those are my favorite future USC to make the playoff. Favorite win total over was Nebraska. Favorite win total under is Iowa. Collin?
I mean, look, the opening bet is Oregon's winning the national title, but they get beat by Ohio State. I would take Ohio State to win the conference, but more importantly, Oregon to win the national title, Penn State to make the playoff plus 360. This schedule is one of the softest P4 things I've ever seen in my life. I think the transition will be fine. And Danton Lynn as a defensive coordinator is underrated by a billion. It's not being talked about enough how great he's been. So give me Penn State to make the playoff plus 360.
You like Iowa under with me?
Iowa under with you. Completely echo everything there. Echo everything Nebraska. You talked me into it. Money on Nebraska this year.
That's right.
I like UCLA.
It's going to come down to the Nebraska-Iowa game at the end of the year. Can't wait.
I think UCLA over 6.5. I think Chesney is going to have the team very well prepared for those 3 East Coast travels or time zone travels.
All right.
That's where we're at. And then you and I are so head-to-head on USC Penn State.
Penn State. Can't wait. Lincoln and Happy Valley, baby. How could you not trust
you're betting this? All right.
How could you not trust him? All right. That'll do it for us. We got to get ready for the SEC pod, another 2-parters, and the ACC Big 12. They'll all be out in the next couple of days. Thanks to Colin for joining me. Thanks to our producer, David. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. So good to be back. Week 0 will be here before we know it. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. You know the deal. Leave a 5-star review. We got some giveaways coming for anyone who leaves a 5-star review in the next week or 2. Thanks for tuning in. Catch y'all later. Cheers.
Peace out.